At some point, we all need to research a particular topic. With the overload of information on the internet right at your fingertips, more often than not, you may find yourself skeptical about the credibility of a particular source. How can you be sure that a source is reliable? And why should that even matter in the first place? For starters, sources, also known as scholarships, can affect the overall quality of your research paper. Reading critically and evaluating primary scholarship is central to the communication studies at San Francisco State. Scholars use primary and secondary sources when doing their research. I will be discussing primary and secondary scholarship with you. I will share why is it critical to recognize sources and learn to evaluate them accurately. I will also draw an example of how I critically read a primary source for a specific assignment. Primary scholarship offers you direct access to your research topic, providing you with first-hand knowledge. Primary scholarship are trustworthy and they represent the discoveries made during the research. Primary sources are the original unedited work, books, book chapters, research articles, performances, and legal decisions are all primary sources. It is the author's original idea. The point of analyzing a primary source is to understand the author's logic and perspective to increase your understanding of the topic well enough to generate new ideas and new interpretations. When you achieve that, you are ready to explain the study results and understand its methodology and its implications on the outcome. Secondary sources provide second-hand data and observations from other researchers. They are in nature more analytical summary, a synthesis, an interpretation of or an evaluation of a primary source. Secondary sources are beneficial. However, it is crucial to be aware of their persuasive nature. Secondary sources may be generalizations, interpretation, summaries referring to that original source, usually with the intent to influence the reader's perspective. They might or might not be representing the original work accurately. I showed my ability to read and evaluate a primary source when analyzing a TED Talk speech that I submitted for one of my communications courses at San Francisco State. The Danger of the Single Story. It's a TED Talk by novelist Chimamanda Adichie, a Nigerian national who tells the story of how she became who she is. She advises us about the danger of hearing and ultimately believing one single story about someone, a culture, or a country. To Adichie, a single story is harmful because it is untrue and incomplete. It creates stereotypes, robs people of their dignity, and makes it really hard for those listening to the stories to relate to that and find similarities. Adichie gave us an insight into her background and unique experience. She is not drawing examples of her experience from other researchers. Her speech is original and it is considered a primary source. For my assignment, I gave a proper analysis of that speech. I had to critically evaluate the speech, understand deeply how the speaker's background and her experience related to the topic. I had to go beyond what the speaker said and reconsider issues that the speakers brought up. The summary of my interpretation of her speech is considered a secondary source. To wrap this up, remember that primary sources offer first-hand knowledge, And secondary sources are great when you want to gain someone's interpretation of a primary source. Now you know the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. The sources you choose will impact your grade and affect your research paper's overall quality and credibility. Choose carefully. Thank you for listening.